Awe. Awe is the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world, says Dachar Keltner. All throughout our liturgy in these last days, we say that God is deciding who will and who will not be inscribed in the book of life for this coming year. An idea that for many of us strikes fear, like passing through a test or going in front of a judge. We hope that he sees the whole picture of us, deciding our fate. That feeling of dread and fear is in fact the origin of the word, the idea of awe. A solemn and fearsome moment. Growing up observant in an Orthodox home, this is how I experienced awe. At synagogue, in yeshiva, learning, whenever we talked about God, whenever the Torah was out, it was a profound idea, especially during these high holy days. These days, we are currently in these days called Yamim Noraim, the days of awe. High holidays, the word is an American invention. It's true, we don't have high holidays in Jewish tradition. But we have Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, the days of awful, the days of terror. But in my life, I've always been confounded by this, especially since now I don't live the way I did back then. I'm not afraid anymore. So did I lose awe? When I speak of it to people, I find that we don't always welcome this idea of awe, because awe is not comfort. It breaks us. Awe can feel like vertigo, and it's again full of fear. How then can it lead to sacredness, to humility, to repentance, to renewal? How do we walk through this fear to reveal something else, something new about ourselves, about the world? When Jacob, our patriarch, awoke from his dream with the ladder and the angels and said, "Surely the Lord is in this place and I did not know it," he was struck by this awe, by the invisible presence in the everyday. This sudden shift of perspective is exactly what Yom Kippur is in fact asking us to do. When we say Yotzer Or, which we did today, the Creator is praised in the blessing that evokes the heaven, the stars, the vastness of the universe of creation, placing us in relation to something way beyond ourselves. On Netanet Tokef, even the angels, we hear, we talk, we liturgy, tremble. Gates shake. The world stands in wait. We call that moral gravity. We face the consequences of our actions, the fragility of life, the accountability of all the choices that we make. This particular moment of awe is a disruption of the self. An awe awakes that shrinks the sense of self, one that rearranges what matters. When we're struck with awe, priorities come into perspective. It's an experience of moments so vast that we must adjust our mental map. In those instances, we feel small, but paradoxically more human, more connected, more real. But awe is not a passive terror. It is a summons for us to remember how precious life is. It summons us to repair, to repent, to recalibrate. In recovery language, it's that moment when the addict sees themselves small, confronted by morality, by responsibility, by the weight of what has been done, and then decides to turn. Awe doesn't break you, in fact, it reveals what is already cracked and sacred in us. When our internal world feels too loud, the pressure, the shame, the craving, we need to then let awe interrupt, to let a moment of wonder, perhaps, a bright light moment, to silence the inner noise, even if it's just for one beat. So how do we invite awe into our life? How do we capture this magic? How do we put lightning in a bottle? Can we? Or are we always at the mercy of the universe, just waiting for a moment that perhaps will never come? Awe has a sibling, and it is curiosity. Awe awakens not certainty, but wonder, questions, newness. When we shift our attention, our perception, and our questions of life, we invite something new to happen. When we approach Yom Kippur, we are invited to come as curious beings. What do I not yet see about ourselves? What patterns repeat in my life? What wound is still raw beneath the skin? The Talmud debates when to recite the Shema. At dusk, when stars appear, when the sky shifts and invites new vision. Curiosity is not naive, it's spiritual courage. So let's ask together with real curiosity when, how, who. When life pushes us beyond the story that I tell about myself, can I tell a different story? Where God might be working in a corner that I don't yet see in our favor. Something perhaps we've ignored, but we need to ask, where is it? Awe is not a once-in-a-lifetime event. It's a muscle. The more often you seek it, the more easily we can find it. Judaism knows this. That's why in our tradition gives us blessing, not only for grand miracles, not for high holidays, for small wonders. 100 of them, in fact, Birkot HaNehenin. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Zocher HaBrit V'Ne'eman Bivrito. Baruch Ata Adonai V'Kayam B'Ma'amaro. You say that when? When you see a rainbow. Shekacha lo be'olamo, when we encounter something unusually beautiful. Even a spider web glistening with dew, or the first blossom, or a tree in spring. All these are blessings we have to say. There's a blessing when you see somebody beautiful. There's a blessing when you see a tree in bloom. There's a blessing when you see the sky in thunder. There's a blessing when you see something that should be in bloom and isn't. There's a blessing when you see somebody who is ugly. There's a blessing when you see somebody who is wise. There's a blessing when you see a rabbi. I didn't hear anybody say that blessing this morning. But there is a blessing for the rainbow. There's a blessing for the spider web. There's really, truly a blessing for everything we see. When you see 10,000 people come together, each blessing is a doorway to a new awe, training us to notice what we otherwise must notice but pass by. And the more we bless, the more we see, awe becomes not rare but regular, a way of living awake to the holiness woven into everything that is ordinary. If awe is a muscle, then wonder is the spark that keeps it alive. And we need to seek wonder intentionally, because without it, the world dulls. The Talmud again asks and models itself in Brachot. David is said to have asked God, how many worlds have you created? How many praise can I offer you? a question not for information, but for wonder, a kind of holy curiosity. Elsewhere in Talmud, Moses asked God, why is the Torah written with crowns atop of its letters? And God answers, because generations will come who will draw out endless interpretations from these little crowns. Why? Because somebody's going to ask and then find an answer. In other words, even the smallest mark on a page is important. Curiosity is sanctified. So when we recite the blessings for a rainbow or a flowering tree, we are practicing curiosity, training ourselves to ask, what is this? What does it mean to me? What beauty hides here that I might have perhaps missed otherwise? Judaism insists the more we cultivate wonder, the more alive our souls become. For recovery, for resilience, for renewal, the habit of wonder is not decoration, it is survival. And the more we do that with the world, the more we do that, yes, with ourselves. The wonders and awe of our own life. Each and every one of you is a wonder. Can we see ourselves as Shakespeare did? What a piece of work is man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form, in moving, how express and admirable, in actions, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights not me, no woman neither, though by your smiling you seem to say so. Surprising, maybe not really, is the fact that awe and in fact gratitude are linked. Both are practices, disciplines of attention. Practicing gratitude means pushing to notice the ordinary miracles that make our life possible. The breath that comes without us asking, the food placed before us, the roof above our head. But gratitude becomes deeper when we pair it with awe. So not just thank you for this bread, not look at the sunlight that fed the wheat, but then the hands that harvest this wheat, the journey it made across the land in time to reach to my table. Judaism teaches us this rhythm. We say blessing over an apple, not because God needs our words. He's God. He doesn't need it. But because we need to train our eyes and our souls to see the hidden choreography of creation within that simple fruit that is now before us. Gratitude says, I have been given. Awe says, I'm part of something vast. Together, we reorient the way from entitlement to self and self-centeredness towards humility, wonder, and joy. As a practice, try this. Once a day, take one thing in your life, your morning coffee, the shoes on your feet, perhaps the chair you are sitting on right now, and trace it backwards. Who made it possible? What natural forces allowed it? What community of people carried this into your life? This exercise transforms the mundane into holy ground. It rewrites our mind to see not scarcity, but abundance, not isolation, but interconnections. And when we live this way, we deliberately practicing gratitude and awe, then resentment has a lot less room to grow. Craving loosens their grip, and the soul remembers that life itself is a gift continuously unfolding. And then we can move forward. Like my 2 cup of coffee theology. Winter is coming. There will be homeless people on the street, hungry people on the street. Some of us will walk by a Starbucks or a coffee shop and buy a cup of coffee and give it to the person and we feel good. It feels amazing. But how about a 2-cup of coffee theology? How about you get 2 cups of coffee? You give one to him and one for yourself, and you sit with that person and you have it together. You see that person and look them in the eye. You want to see awe and wonder, and God, in fact, look another person in the eye. If we are created in God's image, God is not up there. God is in what he created in every one of us. When we think about life this way, we find ourselves back where we feel small, but this time deliberately. I hate Yom Kippur. Everybody who knows me knows this. It's true. I hate it. I always have. No food, endless sitting and praying time, the anti-gay reading and mincha. I hate all of it. All I want, truly, is to disappear, to get completely obliterated, to go away. But perhaps, as I was thinking about this Yom Kippur, this exact feeling is what saves me here today. For many days, in fact, finding the smallest thing to hold on, a face, a smile, a blessing, a prayer, something small. One of my favorite artists said, when we obliterate nature and our bodies with polka dots, we become part of the unity of the environment. And today, I surrender, and I'm open to this awe of being obliterated and finding just something small to inspire me. Today is the day of justice. Today is the day of mercy. Today is the day of awe, the trembling threshold where we meet ourselves and, in fact, the divine. When awe visits you, let it. Don't rush. Don't smother it with answers. Let it press deeper. Reshape your gaze. From that space, make your confession, repair your relationship, recommit your heart. Recovery teaches us relapse isn't failure if you stand up again. Tshuva teaches us return isn't defeat, it's grace. But let awe be the burst that ignites this something new today. Chatima Tova.